On May 2nd, get ready to escape. Isis, Escape from Transylvania. The goddess next door and John Haynes must escape a horde of vampires on the hunt in this horror-filled Isis series adventure. Get Isis, Escape from Transylvania in paperback and e-readers May 2nd. In a recent video, I said that Marvel Comics' new editor-in-chief, C.B. Cebulski, was an ineffective manager. And in this video, I'm going to explain why I believe that he's an ineffective manager. Now, Gordon Ramsay, many years ago on his show Hell's Kitchen, said that either you run the kitchen or the kitchen runs you. And when I take a look at C.B. Cebulski's response at a recent Comic-Con to an individual who asked him about the unprofessional behavior of Max Bemis, it's clear to me that Marvel Comics is running him and that he's not running Marvel Comics. Because when I listened to that response that he gave that individual regarding that unprofessional behavior, he did not take responsibility for the situation or take the lead in the situation. Instead of him taking responsibility by apologizing to that individual regarding that unprofessional conduct and then holding Max Bemis accountable, instead, your C.B. Cebulski decided to start deflecting. And the first way he started to deflect was by saying that Max Bemis had a rock star personality and that Max Bemis was an independent contractor. Those were the words that someone who is a manager uses, not a leader. And as I see it right now, Marvel Comics' big problem is they don't have a leader, because a leader is someone who is running Marvel Comics, not letting Marvel Comics run them the way C.B. Cebulski is letting Marvel Comics run him. Because for him to sit there and say Max Bemis has a rock star personality was him saying that Max Bemis was bigger than Marvel Comics. If you are running Marvel Comics, you're going to say Max Bemis is not bigger than Marvel Comics, and his behavior needs to meet a certain standard if this individual wants to keep working at Marvel Comics. Now, when I look at Max Bemis's unprofessional behavior, he wrote on social media telling a customer to eat his anus, and then after Cebulski called him up and admonished him about it, he did it again. Basically showing Cebulski he has no respect for him and that he does not respect his authority. Now, if this individual was working for SJS Direct and I talked to him once and I saw that that behavior was going on, that individual is not working for SJS Direct anymore. Because if you can sit there and verbally abuse a customer and management gives it a pass, that shows, again, that this manager is ineffective as a manager and ineffective as a leader. Because a leader is going to look at that situation and say, these people cannot talk to my customers this way. That if this person wants to work at this company, their behavior and their conduct must meet a certain standard. And they must understand that at Marvel Comics, we value our customers, we value their time reading our comics, we value the time they take to share our comics with our readers, and any interaction they have on social media needs to be a professional interaction so that they can have a positive experience about Marvel Comics. When someone who you call into discipline about conduct continues to participate in conduct, action must be taken immediately to let everyone at the company know that their behavior must meet a certain standard for behavior. When I look at Cebulski's approach to this, he is not setting a hard boundary from minute one as related to dealing with these unprofessional comic pros, because many of the customers in the comic book industry have been complaining to management, they've been complaining at Comic-Cons about unprofessional comic book pros' behavior, and they want to see action taken by management. Cebulski needed to show that he was serious about this, and he didn't show he was serious from minute one. Now, he's been on the job for maybe a couple of months, but this is something he should have tackled early on, because this is something as related to his sales. Because if your pros are sitting there attacking customers and giving them a bad customer experience, those customers are going to spread word of mouth about your products, which is going to lead to those products not being able to sell. And when you have your customers being put last, they're going to put your products last when it's time to come to the marketplace. And this is something C.B. Cebulski, as I see it, doesn't seem to have connected the dots on. These unprofessional so-called comic book pros need to be held accountable for their behavior, and if possible, there need to be terminations. And in the case of your Max Bemis, there needed to have been a termination to set an example to everyone else regarding this unprofessional behavior. Now, some people will say that is harsh, but if you acted unprofessionally in any other business, like fast food, like retail, and you told a customer to eat their anus, your anus, you would be terminated from that job. And that should be the same standard for a comic book professional, because in any other business, that would be considered insubordination. Now, your C.B. Cebulski said excuse for not dealing with Max Bemis was this. He said that he was an independent contractor. Well, I'm sorry, that excuse doesn't fly with me. I've been a freelancer for over 15 years, and as a freelancer, when I am hired to do a job for a company, writing an article or a blog, I represent that company if I'm taking their money or they are publishing my article on their website. And my conduct has to meet a level of professionalism when I go on their website or I go to promote my own content as I'm working for them. So I have to make sure that my behavior meets a certain standard, because if you are a freelancer, you want to continue to get freelance jobs from other companies, then you have to be professional and show how professional you are when you are working for a company, because you are not just representing yourself, you are representing that company and that brand as long as you're getting a credit from that company, whether it be a writing credit, a penciling credit, an ink credit, or any other credit, you are representing that company and their brand. So that excuse really does not wash with me about independent contractors. Independent contractors, as I see it, they have to behave to a certain standard of behavior. And when I look at C.B. Cebulski's ineffective management and his weak leadership, he is showing me that he is not qualified to run Marvel Comics, because he's letting Marvel Comics run him from day one. And you cannot let Marvel Comics run you if you hope to deal with many of the issues that have hampered Marvel Comics over the last 2 years and led to these declines in sales. One of the things that they need to deal with, again, from the beginning, is these unprofessional so-called comic pros. And these unprofessional comic pros need to be shown that there is a value to the Marvel Comics brand, and that if you're coming to Marvel Comics, which is supposed to be the #1 industry leader, you need to appreciate the opportunity to work at Marvel Comics. And that if you want to work at Marvel Comics, your behavior needs to meet a certain standard for conduct if you hope to work for Marvel Comics, because many people aspire to work at Marvel Comics, and they would be glad to have your position at Marvel Comics if you do not appreciate it. And that's what a good editor-in-chief would do if he was running Marvel Comics. He would let people know that if they don't want to behave professionally on social media, that they can be replaced by someone else, and that someone else would be grateful to have that position working for the industry leader in comics. Because as I see it right now, many of these so-called SJW comic creators take their positions in the comic book industry for granted. They feel entitled to them. They don't appreciate them. And it takes a strong editor-in-chief to let them know where they're at and why they are here. Because these people don't see the value in what they have. They take it for granted, and they think that they can go on forever. Well, a good boss is going to let you know you are here for a finite time, and you are here because you can produce. And if you cannot produce and you cannot meet certain standards,
you will be replaced by someone else who can produce and meet certain standards for this company, because that's how you get a company with high standards, because that's what I saw with Jim Shooter back in the 80s. Now, many people hated Jim Shooter back in the 80s, but there was no denying the quality of Marvel Comics back then, because he maintained a high bar for quality, he maintained a high bar for standards, and he maintained a high bar for consistency from publication to publication, because he put the catalog first, he put the characters first, and he let the comic pros know that they worked for the company and they worked for those characters, and that working on those characters was a privilege and an honor, because these characters are icons from generation to generation, and they need to be treated with the respect that they deserve. Unfortunately, many of today's comic pros don't respect these characters, they don't respect the catalog, they don't respect the position that they have been blessed with and the opportunity they have been blessed with to work in this industry. These people believe that they are gatekeepers, they believe that they are entitled to certain positions, and they believe that they can dictate who works in this industry. As I see it, Marvel desperately needs a publishing professional to show many of these people the value of their position, and to show them that if they cannot meet the standards for this position, they will be replaced, and if their behavior doesn't meet a certain standard, they will be replaced, and that they are not bigger than Marvel Comics. They are not rock stars, because when you are barely making 15 or 20,000 sales on 40,000 orders, you don't have the right to call yourself a rock star. You're nowhere near Todd McFarlane or Chris Claremont's numbers, where these guys were selling 1 million copies of a comic. And you're nowhere near the level of many other mid-level comic creators who were selling 200,000 units. So there is no way that you can come here and be a prima donna in an industry that is desperately in need of customers and desperately in need of creators who appreciate their customers and want to build relationships with those customers. As I see it, Marvel desperately needs someone in charge of Marvel who, again, will run Marvel, not let Marvel run them, and will not let creators walk all over them and walk all over the catalog, walk all over the brand, and then walk all over the customers, and believe that they are entitled to the customer's money. When it comes down to Cebulski, as I see it, he is starting off on a bad foot on his fresh start, and if he does not take charge of things and start running Marvel Comics, he is going to get run into the ground in the same way that Axel Alonso was run into the ground and Joe Quesada before him, because both of those men did not run Marvel Comics. They let Marvel Comics run itself, and that's why Marvel Comics is in the sad state of affairs that it's in. If I were running Marvel Comics, I'm going to start out on the first foot running the company and letting everybody know who's in charge and what the standards will be and what direction we're going to go in from this point on. And that's what Marvel Comics really needs right now if they hope to turn things around. They need an editor-in-chief who is going to come in and start laying the groundwork for building things and making efforts to tear out all of the unprofessional behavior, unprofessional conduct, and the discord which has derailed Marvel Comics over the last 2 or 3 years and led to its steep decline. Because if you don't have a boss with a vision, a direction, or the courage to run the company is not going to go anywhere but down. If you'd like to see me make more videos like this, you can donate to my Patreon by clicking the link in the description box. And if you want to try some of my SJS Direct publications, you may do so by clicking the link to Amazon.com. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.